So I figured I'd take advantage of still some light and I'm just laughing because I don't know what it's going to look like when you watch my video, but after I said taking advantage of still some light, I pretty much lost most of the daylight. So just a little tarot chat. Just to, I don't know, check in, let you know where I'm at. This is the end of March. It's the end of February. The end of March. It's the end of February, and it's my second depth year, or rather my second normal year, because for me, depth is a normal state. I'll give you a little recap of what happened, what's going on with me and my tarot life and my deck situation and all that stuff, because why not? That's what we like to talk about, right? So, at the end of last year, halfway through last year, I got rid of all my, got rid of all my decks, but I got rid of all the extraneous decks, all the impulse purchases, all the ones that didn't fit my aesthetic, that didn't fit my spiritual practice, that didn't fit my tarot practice, my cartomancy, whatever it was, gone. And then I posted a video where I was left with 5 unique decks, because I didn't count how many copies of, different copies of Rider-Waite-Smith that I own, how many copies of Thoth that I own, and all that jazz. And so then, slowly, over the course of last year, I accumulated some more, as one does. And a lot of those, and up until the end of last year, and a lot of those were cut this month from my deck collection, is what I'm going to call it, because essentially that's what it is now, because it's curated. And I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with the refinement process. So clearing out all those decks last year was excellent, because I just kept the ones that I actually used, which allowed me to see clearly what I enjoy, what works for me, my aesthetic, because there's a large portion of aesthetic involved when you have more than one tarot deck. That's, for me, that was one of the main takeaways for me, is that honestly, I could have lived the rest of my life just using this one to read for the general public, and I haven't read for the general public in almost 2 years. I can't believe how fast that time went. But that's a conversation for another video. So, honestly, I really just need this one that I read for the public, my old deck that I still hang on to, and my Thoth. Honestly. If all I did with tarot was read for other people and occasionally read for myself. But that's not the case. That's not the case. And I've learned from my experience that I have different kinds of decks for different purposes, and they're very specific. I have my occult decks, and that's my Rider-Waite, my Thoth, and Marseille. And that too, my Marseille journey brought me back. Oh my God, it's pathetic, people. My Marseille journey brought me back to the first one I had, and the one I had for years, which is the one by Mary Packard, which is the Madenier. And Pierre Madenier is my favorite Marseille. And this is a really nice copy of it. I like the faces in this one. I really, of all the Marseille decks, I even feel stupid that I got rid of my original one because I didn't use it or whatever, or I didn't like, I don't know what my story was. I got sucked into the hype, right? I got sucked into the search for the best. It was all bullshit. Anyway, but I'm happy because now I have my original back with me. Not my original one. That one was rehomed years ago. This is a replacement. And for those of you in the English-speaking world, Mary Packard's Starot de Marseille is still in production in French. And like everything that's like all French tarot decks, it's a little more expensive than, like for mass-produced, right? It's a little more expensive than English language decks, probably because the population is smaller, they sell less decks, and yeah, the production quality is better too. So I don't begrudge them. So, refinement process. See, I thought I had a relapse, especially towards the end of last year. I accumulated quite a few decks last year. For someone who cleared out a bunch of, I cleared out at least 5, 6, 7 times as many as I brought in again last year. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I brought in a lot of decks last year, and a lot of them were similar to each other. Excuse me. What I discovered in my process of elimination and then reintroducing or introducing new blood, so to speak, is that I have a specific vibe that I search for. So I like my occult tarot decks, my standard Rider-Waite Crowley decks. I love those. Also, I have been more dissatisfied, although I do have independently published decks. I do own some, so I'm not saying I don't have any. But the chances are I'll be more dissatisfied. It's more likely I'll be dissatisfied or disappointed with an independently published tarot deck than I will with one that is mass-produced by, one that's published by a publisher and, widely available. And yeah, some lessons you have to learn them the hard way. But there's some exceptions to that rule, and I own those decks. And I don't know, I might do a collection video, but holy shit, people. Those of you out there that are, I see your thumbnails in my recommended list, where, it's my tarot and oracle collection part 1 through 17, and each video is about 2 hours long. What the hell? What is going on out there, people? I step away from YouTube for, a couple of months. I come back and I look at my recommendeds, the homepage, right? And then I click the tarot tab and it's like, what is going on? Stop the insanity, people. What are you going to do with all those decks? Just waiting for the hate comments. Oh, you're a gatekeeper, and it's like, how dare you judge me and my addiction, my shopping addiction. I don't care. I don't care. Do what you want. And I'll do what I want. And I think it's hilarious and sad at the same time. It really is. Okay. That's enough. But if you are watching me, I'm always, look, I try not to be incendiary, but I'm a Leo sun. It's like, it's in my nature. And I'm a Scorpio moon, sorry. And Virgo rising. Yeah. So in my whole back to our show. And in my whole adventure because I cleared out all those decks that were just making noise, and they weren't for me. And they were like, then I went on a quest. This is what it felt like. I went on a quest to find the ones that do fit me. And in that process, I still ended up getting too many. You know what? But it was a different exercise. This time it was, well, I ended up, let's say, with 2 or 3 of the same genre, like a nature, like an animal oracle. And okay, those, never mind. Those I have a weakness for. If it's a good animal oracle, I have it. But I'll use that as an example. So if I got like 3 animal oracles, and one of them is the apex predator of them all, that's the one I keep, and the other ones I've boxed away, and I'll eventually, and that's another thing I wanted to talk about. So I went through this whole exercise trying to find, not even trying to find, it's just, instead of watching content and infomercials where people are telling me what's cool and what I should like and what I should buy, I instead looked at my own collection and my own divination and spiritual practice, because I do use cards for my spiritual practice as well. That stems from the fact that I was raised Catholic. I started with the saint cards, right? And that's my gateway drug was playing cards to learn how to learn cartomancy and saint cards. So I brought some new ones in. I tried them out. I was good. I was feeling comfortable for a little while, even though, the deck situation swelled a little bit here by the end of last year. And then I hit that critical point, critical mass, this month. And it was, suddenly I was overwhelmed again. And I'm thinking, oh my God, oh no, we're back to that? But I've been working at this for 2 years, more than 2 years. We're back to that. What the hell? So at the start of this year, I made a pact with myself that I wasn't going, there's no buy and no cull. So meaning that I can remove decks from my collection, place them in a box, but they cannot leave my house because I don't know what I'm doing. And also because I didn't want to trigger, like I didn't want to call purge to trigger the binge. So that's what I did. I just took them out of my sacred space. I put them in a box, and they're put away in my house. And I have a box of losers, like not that there's nothing wrong with them, like not that they're losers, but they've lost out to better decks for me in my collection. And then a box of the ones that are hard to find, out of print, collectibles. The ones that matter to me, though, it's like I don't give a shit about everything that's out of print or collectible. But, I don't use, I have 6 or 7 Rider-Waite decks. I don't use them all the time. But I also don't want to get rid of them. So there's that. And I've determined for myself, and I'm just going to share this with you because everybody's different, right? But just so that you can then reflect on your own aesthetic and what you use decks for. I like my occult metaphysical decks, straightforward metaphysical, Rider-Waite, Thoth, Marseille even. And then I like my nature decks. My spiritual practice is really strongly rooted in earth-based spirituality. I I don't have deity on my altar. I have representations of the elements and of animal spirits. So just to give you an idea, that's all I'm going to say for now, if at all. Anyway. And yeah, I do have a predilection towards and a love of animal decks. And I love the ones that I've curated. I also have, I'm drawn to, decks that have an animism flavor. And so, I have that. And that's pretty much it. And of course, earth spirits, like, Brian Froud's Fairies for sure lives in that same neighborhood. And decks that are, they're described as shamanic, but that word doesn't even mean how people use it, right? So, but if you're talking about decks, you know what I mean, like that kind of genre. So that's where I am right now with the whole. I'm in the refinement. I'm in my refinement era, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit in a less lengthy video. But also, I think I'm at a certain point. I'm going to share what some of the ones I kept, and I don't mean to be coy or anything like that. And I know it sounds kind of weird, but since the refinement process, and because some of these decks are utilized in my spiritual practice, I don't feel comfortable doing the parade of, oh, here are my decks, and like, if that's your thing, it's not mine. It's just not my thing. Sorry, I have to refrain from apologizing, because it's not my thing. They're not toys, they're not objects to me, right? So it's they're used with reverence in my practice. So I don't feel comfortable doing the deck parade video. There was a time when I did, and we all evolve, hopefully. There's room for all of us to grow, right? We should allow ourselves to grow. There's back catalog on my channel if you want to see those kinds of videos. I'm not going to take them down. It was part of my growth, my personal growth, right? And that's going to stay, right? But for me, a lot has changed. A lot of my spiritual practice has gone inward a lot, and since the end of last year and the beginning of this year. Yeah, just like, oh my gosh, I love. This is just switching topic here. I love the people I watch who did their tarot desk. I'm talking about you, Jessica. Jessica and the Moon did this beautiful video where she shows her witchy room and her desk. And I was going to do something similar with my desk, because I don't have a room. I have just an area inside a larger room. And then I saw what my desk looked like on camera. Oh my God. So there's a lot going on my desk. I have two desks. I have one that's my work, employment, work kind of stuff. And then I have my desk, which is everything else, including crafting, and it's all there. And it looked like, it didn't look that bad to me when I was looking at it, but then on camera it was like, oh my God, I'm going to give somebody anxiety. So I think I'm going to tidy my desk up a bit before I share it. But I love watching how people organize their stuff. So that stuff I really like. And I wanted to share So in a previous video, I don't even know how many videos ago I said it, but I don't modify decks anymore. And I'll still, what I do, and I'm a liar, pants on fire, because I really do. It's not true. I will round the corners on a new deck or on a deck I already own because I'm crazy and it looks wrong to me because the corners are never like nicely rounded. Los Carabeo decks, which I think I only have one now left, but Los Carabeo is like beautiful cardstock. I love the tuck box decks, not tarot decks, not the new ones in that really thick cardstock bullshit. But anyway, the corners are always like uneven or whatever. And there's nothing nice. I don't know. There's nothing more satisfying to me than re-rounding the corners, making them all even. And it just looks lovely. I still edge my decks. The ones that I feel drawn to edging. An example would be when I replaced this guy. So this is, I already told you what this is. I don't have to tell you again. So this one has a little bit of, again, this lighting is not for, it's not for flip throughs and stuff like that. We're just talking. This one has that kind of like, it looks a little dirty, a little worn. So it had stark white edges. So I just made the edges to match how it looks. That kind of stuff makes me happy. And yeah, I did do it. So liar, pants on fire. I did modify this deck. I didn't round the corners because the corners were fine. Because, to my point, French publishers, good quality shit. Anyway, the last deck though that I did trim, because I don't. So I round the corners and I edge them, but I don't trim them anymore. Especially trimming the titles off. I talked about how words are magic, and I found that cutting the words off, even if you know the deck really well, I found some decks suffered from that. They just went dead, like they just didn't read anymore. And you have to be someone who believes in the magic in tarot to feel this way, okay? So if you're someone who, tarot is purely psychological or it's just a game, not a game, but you know what I mean? Like that there's no spirit component to your cartomancy, you're probably not going to feel the same way that I do. But for me, since the moment I learned how to read cards, I was taught that you're receiving a message from a spirit. Except there's other, and you know what? I'm going to do a video, but not today. I'm going to do another video about how I use tarot cards, because I've never really talked about how I use them. Like what I use them for, what kind of readings I do. I know because of things I've said in the past, there's a lot of speculation that I'm just a fortune teller and I tell people a finite future, or you know what I mean, a predestined future that cannot be changed. And I don't know, sometimes. But my tarot practice is deeply rooted in damage control and outcome and that kind of stuff. And also, it's part of taking the temperature before magical work and then after magical work. Like if you're a magical practitioner, that's what you're using, and you're not using divination in your magical practice to check the temperature before and to see what happened. I don't know what you're doing, but you better start doing that. All right. So this is a box I got probably on Etsy or something like that. Sketsy is what I call it. I'm not a big fan of Etsy, but I've gotten some nice things from it. So I got this box a while back. And what I did is the new deck, the last deck I ever modified, trimmed, is the Barbara Walker. I went all out with this one. First of all, I can't stand the tin. For such a strong crone, feminine, receptive, feminine, feminist deck, the Magician's on the lid. Like, I don't understand that tin. I don't understand US Games. Make me understand. Because the original box was a fiery orange and had Hell on it. And I think Hell is the Queen of Wands. But anyway, doesn't matter. So with the extra card, I made myself a little... Oh, there she is. I was right, Queen of Wands. So with the extra card, I made a nice hardcover for the little white book. And then I used packing tape to laminate to, you don't have to see it, but here there you go. To laminate the back so that it would be more durable. I've since, my dear friend has since gifted me the physical guidebook of the Barbara Walker Tarot, but I had it on Kindle. Like, I read the Kindle guidebook before getting this deck. And this deck turned out to be what I wanted Tarot of the Crone to be. And Tarot of the Crone didn't work out for me. I've long since moved it along. But this one, the Barbara Walker Tarot, this is Crone energy. This is feminist Crone energy. And holy shit. And you know what? If you're just interested, if you're curious and you don't know if you don't know if this is for you, the Kindle guidebook is like $3. Try it, read it. I read it before I even considered getting the deck. So I trimmed all the white borders off the backs, and that's all I did. That's the only guide I used were the backs. And I edged mine in a nice blood red to have that red, white, and black theme made in Mother and Crone. Keep that intact. Although, I thought of edging it in black, but I just couldn't resist. I love a deck that's edged in red. And this is what they look like. So, yeah, like I said, this is not a, what if I do this? Can you see that better? I kept the titles on the top and the bottom, and just sliced off. There was too much white space around the cards for me, and honestly, I know it's not a flip through video, just to show you how that. And I rounded the corners nicely, the way I like them, and and that's my Barbara Walker. And the main reason I sliced off the white borders was so it could fit in its new box, like so, with my crystal and some incense. So yeah, so that's the last deck I ever trimmed. It's also the last deck I'm ever going to trim, because going forward, I'm not going to buy anything that requires modification, and I'm never going to buy a deck just to modify it, which is what I did in the height of madness, where I was literally buying decks for arts and crafts people. Some of us have all been there. So that's it. I just wanted to share a little bit of my tarot journey so far. And right now what I have is, I'm happy with the decks I have. I'm not really looking for anything. I was before I replaced this one, I was looking for a nice Pierre Madenier, but this is my favorite. So I only need one Marseille deck that I use all the time. And and I'm not getting rid of any of my decks this year until the end of the year. I have a box of decks that are going to go because they didn't make the cut. And I have, oh, and I store away, like, you know, those, the ones you love, but you don't really read with. They're either sentimental or historical or both, or hard to get. And if you suddenly missed it, it would be like, you know, a problem replacing it. Those are the ones I kept in a box. Not that many, but excuse me. It does help not to have them in the space of the decks that I do use, right, on the daily. And the last thing I wanted to share is shuffling. Oh my God, people, my hands are killing me. Okay, so all of you out there who have any kind of arthritis, rheumatoid, psoriatic arthritis, erosive osteoarthritis, inflammatory osteoarthritis, any kind of inflammation in your hands. How are you feeling about all these decks coming out on linoleum tile that are impossible to shuffle? Because I gotta tell you, people, that the best thing that's ever happened for me is all these terrible cardstock decks. And this was all driven by, publishers, and, the marketing departments, they're all watching these videos and seeing what people are saying about their decks and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, this cardstock is flimsy. I don't know what people are expecting their tarot cards to last through, like what, nuclear winter? Because I'm sorry, I have tarot decks from the 80s and they're fine. And I use them a lot. So I have even older tarot decks. I have tarot decks that are as old as I am, and they're perfectly fine. They don't need to be made of 300, 400, 500, 600 GSM. They don't need to be thick plastic. A tarot deck does not require it to be 1.5 inches thick. I don't know what people who complain about flimsy cardstock. Have you ever torn a card? And you know what? The creases that happen in the cards, that's part of the personality of the deck. So now that I've made sure to be ultra incendiary, I still want to come back and talk about, arthritis of the hands. See this? This is a Centennial from 2017. This is how I like to shuffle my cards. This is how I like to shuffle my decks. This one I could barely do it anymore. When I first got it, I could, but the arthritis has gotten worse. And the cardstock has gotten worse. And I guess, well, that's good. I guess I'll save money, right? And I also want to take this opportunity to thank all my friends who love me, who sent me decks I can shuffle. And on that note, on that salty note, and loving note, because it's filled with gratitude, because it's really sad, right? It's like there's something that's your passion, something you've done your whole life, and suddenly you can't because the tools have changed and become unmanageable. So I will leave you on that note, and in the comments down below, tell me, how important is shuffling to you? See, for me, shuffling the deck, shuffling the cards, is part of the meditative process. It's part of the It's a part of the process where it's a repetitive motion that enters me into the trance state to connect to spirit before I start reading. And if I don't have that, I don't get the same quality reading that I would otherwise. All right. So I'm leaving you with that. I want to know about I want to know your thoughts on shuffling cards and all that stuff. And I look forward to your comments. Take care and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.